And occasionally we have 5 Fridays, which today happens to be one, that we call Wellness Fridays, where everybody's off, period. And it is just to focus on their health and wellness.
Produced by Podcast Architects.
Welcome back to another episode of The Path Forward. We're here at TexED Con in Dallas, Texas. I'm your host, Dr. Rick Fernandez. I have a very special friend, guest, joining me on the show, Dr. Cissy Reynolds-Perez.
Hello.
Kingsville ISD superintendent, proud superintendent.
That's right, Bremas.
So, new school year, we're back in action, exciting time. What are you excited about?
Well, I'm very excited because this year we implemented an innovative calendar, we call.
Okay.
We rolled it out when we became a district of innovation in the spring, and it's a 4.5-day work week, we call a 4.5 day. 4 days, students come about 25 minutes longer than they would have. And then on Fridays, we have some Friday mornings where they come and they have innovation stations, interventions. We have had so many things that have brought the joy back to learning, the joy of learning back. We first rolled this out once we said we're going to have to get the community's input first. And so I reached out to all the community members like Boys and Girls Club, Douglas Center, different community members that would help with childcare, because the parents, that was going to be their first concern, was who am I going to leave my child with on Fridays, if y'all are going to be closed half days. Right. And so I met with all of them, got great buy-in, and then some of those they charge tuition, which is Boys and Girls Club, a minimal tuition. Sure. But I met with our foundation, and I met with our communities and schools, and they offered to pay for scholarships to fund if any of these organizations had tuition. Really? So yes. So now there's no barriers at all. So we got all that buy-in first. We had town hall meetings, make sure we answered any of our questions that the constituents had, and we rolled it out. But really it was created by our teachers and our staff on our advisory committee. They asked if I would consider that we pursue this. Sure. And with all the research that's been done, I said, yes, let's do it, as long as we can get the community buy-in. So we've rolled it out. So the first two Fridays of the month are the mornings from 8 to 12. And students come, and like I said, they're in innovation stations and they're in interventions. And then the next Friday morning, the third Friday morning of the month, is a teacher work day. Okay. So that means teachers come and students do not. And teachers are working on anything they need to work on to catch up. And so teachers are appreciating that. I bet. Okay? And that's when we can, as a superintendent, have principal meetings, assistant principal meeting, counselor meetings, and we can have them all together. And
you're not pulling them off campus during instructional time.
Exactly. Or, to compromise safety, right? So we have them all at the same time. We give a consistent message, so that's been helpful. And then on the fourth Friday of the month, then we have what's called a PD, and that's where we have our professional development those mornings. And occasionally we have 5 Fridays, which today happens to be one, that we call Wellness Fridays, where everybody's off, period. And it is just to focus on their health and wellness, is take some time to either, if you have to take your child to the doctor, which several people have told me what they're doing on Wellness Fridays, and one of them had said, I had to take my child to the doctor. I didn't have to worry about calling in sick, but I made his appointment. I could take my time. Others, they had 2 staff members that work with special ed. They purposely scheduled pedicures, just to go and pamper themselves a little bit and just to take some time out. So far it's been very successful. We had to start 16 days earlier than normal because that takes care of those 16 Fridays where we're going to either have off or half days off. But every Friday, everybody's off. Once 12:30 comes, everybody, cafeteria, custodians, bus drivers, teachers, every employee is off every Friday, half day. And then on those wellness days, everybody is off all day.
So obviously I know your kids love it and your staff loves it. Do you think it's going to help with where everybody's struggling with teacher retention, attracting teachers across the country? Is that something that you can say, hey, this is an opportunity for self-care? We're going to invest in you, not only to grow you, but also we're going to invest to make sure that you're taking care of your family and you can do some of the things so your weekends aren't work weekends.
Exactly. And the very first Friday that we had this, one of our counselors said, Dr. Perez, for the first time on a Friday morning, I was able to see 17 of my seniors individually, took our time, not having to worry about having to rush them back to class. We looked at their transcript. We were able to make sure that everything is on path for them. And so that was huge. One of my other teachers, biology teacher, he said, Dr. Perez, even though we get off at 12:30, I'm staying here because you know what? Nobody's going to be around. I can get some work done, and I don't have to use my Sunday to do it. So, it's been wonderful. But also the community has brought in all sorts of programs for our kids on those innovation stations.
Yeah.
The universities that we have nearby, they brought 3D art. We're teaching archery. We're teaching golf to the younger children that would not have been exposed to some of these things. We're taking them on college trips and don't have to worry about taking them out of school. So, King Ranch has come over here and they're teaching kids how to rope. It's really thrilling to see what the kids are doing. And it's all hands-on experiences.
Kudos to you. Kudos to the district. And you since you've been there, we arrived at the same time. And I have seen from afar, you started leading when you got there, right? And it's amazing that you've been able to not only unify the community, but during a time when, all right, how do we figure some of this stuff out? Because it's crazy. You provided an opportunity for students to get individualized learning, for counselors to give individualized support, for your staff to do things that are healthy for them. You're a risk taker. Would you agree with that a little bit?
Yeah.
You got to sell these things, right?
Yes. Yes, that's true. But we were just very purposeful about everything that we were doing to make sure that we also use the gift of time, because what can you control?
Sure.
When you're a superintendent, money, we can't always control how much we get. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But time, we all know we have certain amount of hours in the week. How are we going to arrange it that'll benefit our kids and our staff and our parents too?
So you're a risk taker and you're leading something else.
Yeah.
A lot of our colleagues have joined your cause. Share a little bit about that.
Okay, so back in March, we already knew that we had a different STAR test this year. We call it STAR 2.0, right? And so we knew there was going to be a different test. And every 5 years or so, there is a different test.
Sure.
You know about TAS, TAX, TEAMS, we've had them all, STAR. And every time that occurs, we're given like a year to prepare, kind of like a pause. We're not going to rate you because we know that you have to learn how to prep and plan for this. We have to buy instructional materials. We have to do professional development planning, all that. So, but this year, for some reason, with the new STAR test, we weren't given that grace. And in March, the commissioner had a superintendent Zoom with all superintendents across the state of Texas, and he shared his PowerPoint that said, and I remember seeing the slide. And I was in my conference room on our big Promethean board, with my team, and it said, you could be an A this past year and improve instructionally, right? But you're going to drop in your grade, okay? It may happen that you're going to drop in your rating, and I'm like, how does that make sense, And so I took that picture. I took a cell phone picture of it because I was like, I can't believe that I'm seeing this. I need to kind of come back to it and see, did I see that right? And did he explain that right? And shortly after, superintendents really across the state started saying, is this correct? Could this be true? And so we all gathered pretty collectively to create a letter by 250 superintendents written to Commissioner Morath and Governor Abbott, asking for a pause on the ratings to just like it's been done every so many years, right? And nothing different than has been done. And we'd never heard anything back from either one of them. And then in May, we all talked to our legislators, and 55 of the legislators, bipartisan group, joined together, wrote a letter, and I have all the signatures of them too, also to Commissioner Morath and Governor Abbott, and asking for the pause. Nothing. And then in June, I reached out to our representative, J.M. Lozano, and I said, look, we haven't heard anything, you know. This train is coming, and I cannot believe it's coming because that's not good for the community. And so he wrote a letter, nothing. And so then it was already July, and we got a timeline saying that the ratings were going to be coming out, September 28th. And I remember thinking, we worked our way because Kingsville ISD about 5 years ago had an F rating. I came to Kingsville, I'm starting my 4th year. I came to Kingsville because that's my hometown.
Yes.
Grew up elementary, middle school, high school, went to college there for my bachelor's degree. My husband and I grew up there. And so I have I have a passion for Kingsville.
Absolutely.
Obviously, I'm a Brahma, And so I went back there because I saw the failing district, failing district. And I felt like I've got to be able to do something to try to help. I'm at the point where I'm old enough to retire, and it's like, maybe I can go help before I leave, And so I saw what it did to the community when they got an F, okay? There was a flight of students that left, which means significant funding leaves your district, which means then what do you have to do? Cut staff, close schools.
Yeah. It's a snowball.
It's a snowball effect. Also, the first day I got the job, our county judge Madrid, and the mayor called me, and I had a meeting with them. And Judge Madrid said, a couple of years ago, the Pentagon, he works with the Navy very, very well because he was in the Navy. We wanted them to bring a program to Kingsville because we have the Navy base there. Mm-hmm. And we had to pitch Kingsville, And he said, we had all the boxes checked, the location, the tax, everything,
right.
And the main question they asked was, so tell us why your school district is an F. Oh. Okay? And he feels that had a lot to do with them not bringing that program, right? So economically, that impacts the community.
Absolutely does.
So when I saw that, oh my God, we could end up being a D or an F because even though we raised it to a C plus, 78, we grew. We had been growing.
Students improved,
exactly. That's the mission. And even this year, our high school scores, those are the only scores we had at the time, because all the rest were in the zone of uncertainty, and I don't know if you've heard about that, but that's a whole other explanation of terms that TEA is using. And so I saw, okay, our high school has improved in every single subject. How unfair is that for us to then drop to a D or an F? We didn't know. Again, we were in the zone of uncertainty. So I said, we've got to do something. So I contacted our attorneys, and I said, can't you all file an injunction or something? Isn't there something you can do legally to help us? I don't understand why nothing's happening. This can't be real. And he said, you know what, let's look at some laws, but I'm going to tell you, Cissy, he goes, I'm going to need one district that I have to represent in order to do this, And I said, oh, God. I said, well, see what you can find first, And so he and his firm, they looked in all the law books, and he describes it. I mean, they had the law books. They were looking at everything. And they found some statutes that actually had been violated. And so then he brought that to us on Tuesday for the board meeting, before the board meeting. He comes and meets with me before, and then we go to the board meeting. And he said, okay, I found some statutes. He's showing them to me. He goes, come on. He goes, I need one district, and I said, wow. And I had prayed about it. Believe me, I had prayed about it. And I said, you know what, if my board will support me, then it's the right thing to do. What could I lose, really? I mean, I could retire, like I said, and you get a little more brave when you're at that age.
You got that Trump card to play.
It's like, okay, I guess I have to retire, but it was just the right thing to do. So I took it to my board, and a couple of them are here. There's one of them right there, and and every one of them, we hadn't even finished saying it all because they've experienced the F a few years before, and they know how important this is. All of them said, "Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it." So we did it, we started spreading the word. Our attorney started spreading the word to other districts he works with, and that weekend I remember thinking, what did I just do, because we're not really hearing from anybody. But I walked out really from that mass. I remember it was I'll never forget it, thinking, no, this was the right thing to do. There was a song that played, Be Not Afraid. And I thought, okay, I cannot be afraid if
That's
it's the
right.
right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So since then, we've moved forward, and now we're at 105 districts as of last night that have joined us, and from all over Texas. So we've got, Edinburgh, Elsa. We've got El Paso. We've got Dallas, Frisco, Fort Worth, Cypress Fair, Spring Branch. Just all over, and Del Valley, and it's just been wonderful to meet all these superintendents and even talking to their boards who have unanimously voted to join.
Right.
And it really, in Corpus Christi ISD, it really makes a statement to our teachers and staff that we are standing up for them, that it is not a fair system when you don't know the rules before the game is going to be played and you're expected to achieve. So that's where we are with this right now.
It's amazing to me the irony of sitting and telling a bunch of educators that you did better and your grade is worse. The other irony is that, as a proud Texan, I'm proud our state is a state where people come because there's great opportunity within industry and business and it's growing. But there seems to be a gap of, hey, that's wonderful, but if you cripple public education, whether by funding or whether by shuffling the deck at the last minute, who do you think are going to...
It's going to hurt. Exactly.
Who's going to do these jobs? Where
That's
does that
true, too.
industry will not come here?
Right. Exactly.
And you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Right.
For who knows why, but it's just amazing to me that
it doesn't make sense. It really does not make sense.
It does not.
And, so hopefully, what I think this has done is kind of help bring together, all of us for the common good. Now, some districts, if they're in a bond, they're trying to pass a bond. I mean, they don't want to rock the boat about anything,
Of course.
So politically, some just can't, but they're cheering us on. They're continually texting me or things like that. So we have a hearing on October 10th at 9 in the morning at Travis County Courthouse, and so we will see what happens. Let's hope that the judge sees that the law has been violated, and all we're asking is that the law be followed, that we be played fairly.
Yeah. I mean, yes. Give us the ruls, right?
Right,
You
before
can't,
the game.
Yeah, you don't shuffle the deck in the
Yes.
middle of the game. You
Right.
can't.
And a great analogy was baseball. I'll say, I know I've heard a lot about football, if you move the goalposts afterwards, but the baseball, when they changed the pitch count,
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
that. They actually vetted that for a
Yes.
while, in the minors or wherever, before they brought it to the majors. And everybody knew about it beforehand, and then it rolls out smoothly. This has been done after the fact, and the fact that there was a delay just a couple of weeks ago by the commissioner tells us the math was not right. It wasn't,
Something's off.
Something's not right. Why not just say, okay, time out. We need to look at how we've rolled this out and let's fix it.
Well, I mean, did you think it was going to catch fire, be a movement when you were I'm like, how's this kind of growing legs?
Yeah. Well, that first week, like I said, it was very terrifying. But I remember my husband told me, I was with my husband and my daughter, and I said, I just want y'all to know that I'm going to be filing this lawsuit. It is against the Commissioner of Education. And, my daughter's in education, so she works in Corpus Christi. And my husband said, okay, you're going to file this? He goes, and just watch, it's going to be big. And my daughter says, Mom, y'all are going to be the little engine that could, And but that first week, like I said, it was kind of crickets, But then shortly after, I think when people started doing their formulas and started realizing, wait a minute, some of my campuses are going to be D's and F's, yet they improved. So the more that started coming out, then we started hearing. And the word just started spreading. It's been wonderful.
So, changing the subject, you're leading this cause, but if we're bringing it back to students, what's next? What's the evolution of Kingsville ISD? You've got great programming, you've been innovative, you've led. So what's next for your kids?
For our kids is continuing to bring the joy of learning to them. Different programs, career and technology programs. We had our college and career fair 2 nights ago, and it was full. I loved it. And we're bringing more scholarships to our students. So like A&M Kingsville, of course, it's in our hometown. They surprised 10 seniors with scholarships for their following year
No
when they
way.
graduate. Yes, it was a surprise, just automatically, And so just trying to bring more of those opportunities that hadn't been there previously, but not even just from our hometown universities and colleges, but from all across the nation. So we had like Penn State there, we had many, different ones there as well. Just to expose Kingsville ISD and our students to opportunities they wouldn't have normally received because of the constraints of the scheduling or money funding. Many of them hadn't even been out of Kingsville.
Exposure.
Right,
Just
exposure. Let's go to NASA, let's go to SpaceX, let's go to places, and you're not having to worry that you're missing class because we're going to do it on Friday mornings. It's also good for the district financially because we don't have to get subs anymore on Fridays.
Yes.
And our Fridays were the worst for subs.
For everybody, yeah.
For everybody.
People were spending millions of dollars a year just
yeah.
trying to make class happen.
Yes, and then having a lot of subs in classes because the coaches are gone, for their games or meets. But that wasn't our driving force.
Sure.
It's just a good consequence from it.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
Produced by Podcast Architects.